Welcome back, everybody. Today, it's all about desserts. I have a couple of friends that just got back from vacation, and I thought I'd make them some lovely little snacks to enjoy after their long trip. So today I'm going to be making my version of a Mississippi mud pie. It's basically from a recipe that I found that sounded really, really good, except that I may be using a store-bought crust, a graham cracker crust, instead of making my own. I'm going to make a round of chocolate chip cookies, a round of pumpkin chocolate chip muffins, and some spice cake muffins if I have time. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. Sit back, get comfy, relax, and let's go on an adventure of sugar. Okay, this first recipe, the Mississippi mud pie, is pretty straightforward. The very first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to use some instant chocolate Jello brand pudding. And it just requires 2 cups of milk. I'm going to mix it up and set it aside, and then we get into the other part of the filling, which will be cream cheese, powdered sugar, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and get this whisked up and get it set aside. I'll probably put it in the refrigerator. And once that's done, I'm going to probably move on to creating the whipped topping. The whipped topping is twofold. A cup of it goes into the actual chocolate mousse filling is what we're making. And we're going to fold that in, and then we're going to reserve a cup of that to top the actual pie with. So let me get this going, and I will be right back. Okay, so we've got our mixer here, and I'm going to make the whipped cream first because I only have one mixer and mixing bowl, and I need to create a cream cheese and powdered sugar filling, but I need the whipped cream to fold into it. So the recipe I'm doubling, so it's going to be a 2-for-1 instead of 1 cup, 2 tablespoons and 1/2 tablespoon. I'm going for a double recipe. So I'm going to do 2 cups of the heavy whipping cream. This stuff is so thick. Oh. Okay, so I've got 2 cups of that. I'm going to do 4 tablespoons of the powdered sugar, and I've taken my powdered sugar and cut the bag open and then just put it in a container so that it does not fall over on me, because I think we've all had that happen to us. So there's 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And then, according to the recipe, we are going to add an entire tablespoon of vanilla. I probably don't have to measure this. Vanilla is always good in desserts. But there, I did my due diligence. I measured it. And then we're just going to whip. We're going to whip it quite thoroughly until we have stiff peaks. And we're going to do it on a very high speed. Okay, I think we're up to speed, and once that's up, I will be right back with you folks. All right, we've got our whipped cream, and it looks beautiful. I just gave it a little taste test, and it tastes spot on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and go ahead and spoon this into a separate bowl, and then I'm going to make the cream cheese filling that goes into the pie. Alrighty, so I've transferred the whipped cream to the refrigerator. And the next thing it calls for is that we're going to put an 8-ounce block of softened cream cheese in the mixing bowl. And it is pretty soft. So hopefully we don't have a problem with that. If I can get it open. These are usually pretty easy, but this one's kind of fighting me. Here we go, we got it. Okay. Well, I thought I had it. Goodness. I had to get that guy. Okay. Well, there's an easy way to do it. Break out the scissors. Okay. So now that we have freed our cream cheese, let's put this in the bowl. And we'll set that aside. And it calls for a cup of confectioner's sugar. So even though I put this in a bowl so it would stand up, this is probably, I'll tell you what we're gonna do. Let's get a smaller scoop to work with here and fill our cup measure with this guy, because I don't think I can fit the cup measure in here. Okay, that's a little over. There we go. Okay, and we've got our, all right, let's see, it's mostly in there. And nothing else goes in it but this. So let's start that slow. Okay, it's starting to break up here. Trying to prevent a powdered sugar cloud from rising. See how good my mixer really is. Okay, it's starting to come together. I'm going to go ahead and clean up the sides here. Seems like the whisk or any of your attachments have a hard time actually getting to the very bottom of the bowl. Seems like I remember hearing that there was something, some sort of attachment or something that you could, there was a way to set your mixer so that it reaches all the way to the bottom, except I can't remember what that is. So we will make do. All right, let's go ahead and keep going. It says to whip it until it's equally combined. And I would say that probably looks pretty good. Okay, and our recipe says, it says after we have done that, to fold in a cup of our whipped topping that we made. Okay, so it looks like we are done with our attachment. We'll get our bowl out. Let me get all of this detached here, and I will be back momentarily. Alrighty, this is assembly time. This is the easiest thing ever to make. All you need are some basic ingredients. I love, love, love this. So all we're going to do is we're going to take a cup, or try to take a cup of the whipped cream that we made. And all we're going to do is we're going to fold it in. So let me get it all out of the container here. Set that aside, and to fold, we're just going to come down through the center and up over the top. So just like this, down through the center and up over the top. So that's all you do to fold something in, and all we're doing is lightening the cream cheese and powdered sugar. And it's just that simple. And we want to be careful to not deflate our whipped cream, but we do want it folded in thoroughly. So I'm going to turn it just a little bit easier now that you can see how I'm doing it, so that I can get everything all incorporated. I've always been intensely curious about Mississippi mud pie. I hear about it all the time, but I've never had it, nor have I made it. But it looked yummy, so I figured, what the heck, let's do it. So this is a prepared graham cracker crust, and the recipe says to just go ahead and you fill this with your filling that you just made here. So we're just going to spoon that in. Let me scoot you back just a hair. Okay. See if we can scooch that all the way down and make it look pretty. We're going to bring it all the way to the edges. This is such a great pie for a party, or as I'm going to serve it, just a family dinner for ourselves and our neighbors. I'm making a second one for them. Oops, I got a piece of pie crust in there. As I said, it's nice to have that kind of relationship with your friends, family, neighbors, that you can kind of, you know, give them a little welcome home gift. So I think they're going to really love this. So the second one is going to be for us this weekend, but this is for our neighbors. Oops, I missed a little bit here. Whoops, there we go. And then all we're going to do is we're going to put our pudding over the top and then the rest of the whipped cream. So let me rinse this off real quick. Because I do not want whipped cream and cream cheese getting mixed in with our chocolate pudding. We want it pretty. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's get a bit of a paper towel here. Okay, so now let's take a look at our pudding that we made up. It's pretty much set up. I'm just going to loosen it so I can spread it easier. So it's good and ready to go. And now we are going to spoon it on top. I'm going to start there because there's a lot happening here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to refrigerate this for about 15 minutes or so and let that pudding and the base filling kind of set up a bit. I like this because it creates a nice layer. It's not like a real super thin layer. All of these layers are nice and full, which puts out a really nice product. And that, I mean, that literally just made a perfect amount. Now, yeah, I think I'm going to refrigerate this for about 15 to 20 minutes and let it just firm up before I put the rest of that whipped cream on. So let me take care of that and I will join you shortly, my friends. Okay, we're back. We are chilled. We are ready to go. Let's see if I can pull this off here. Okay, we are going to do this very gently because I don't want to disturb the pudding. So I think the best way maybe to do this, excuse me, is to dollop and then spread. This is my very first pie I've ever made. I think I mentioned that I've never had this before or made it before, but I've actually never made a pie before. So this is, I'm sharing it with you, everyone. This is fun. I hope my family and my neighbor really likes it. Oh my gosh, that is so pretty. It's big too. It's a much bigger pie than I thought it would be. Okay. Kind of give it some swirls there. And get the rest of the goodness out here. You know, it's not much of a swirl. Okay, I guess that's pretty good. And it said you can kind of top it with pecans or chocolate curls. I do not have any chocolate curls, so I managed to find some nice pecan bits that I'm just going to sprinkle. Oh, I think it's so pretty. Yay! It is too, wow. Oop, don't get too heavy-handed here. Okay, check it out, everybody. Mississippi mud pie. Boom. That's awesome. I have no idea how I'm supposed to get this to my neighbors. Maybe I'll just have them over and serve it to them and then they can take the leftovers home. That's an even better idea. Yeah, just have them over. I'll just have them over because I don't think I can transport this in a car. but they could take the leftovers home probably easier. So I think I will do that. Okay, we've got our pie done, and now we're going to move on to some muffins. I think I'm going to start with the the pumpkin chocolate chip. I think that sounds good. So I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, so I have returned, and we are making some pumpkin chocolate chip muffins, and I'm going to double the recipe. So pray for me. I'm doing math. So this one recipe only makes 12 servings. I've got 2 silicone muffin things that, I could do 24, and these freeze really, really well. And I really like to make them for family and friends. In this case, I'm doing both for my friends that just got back in from vacation and for my family that's coming home. So I'm going to attempt wholeheartedly to double this recipe, and it's kind of vague, but I have made this recipe before. But basically, we're going to put our eggs, sugar, and the pumpkin puree and the oil, and we're going to whisk that until it's smooth. So I'm doubling this. I got to keep reminding myself here. So I'm doubling this, and it calls for 2 eggs, so we need 4. Hopefully we can do this without getting shells or weirdness in our bowl. So that's 1. Yeah, I'm trying to find a safe spot here. There's 2. Oh, for heaven's sakes, I can't get it out. Okay, there we go. Make sure I'm not getting shell in there. And let's not crack it on the side of the bowl. That's probably a much better idea. Okay, there's 4 eggs. And now we want 2 cups of sugar instead of 1. So let me rinse off my fingers here. Okie doke. Oh my gosh, that's heavy. Okay, we've got our sugar here. And actually, I'm going to pop the lid off. It's going to be a lot easier. So it calls for 1 cup of sugar. We're doing 2. There's 1. And 2. I always get nervous when I start doubling recipes. Okay, now we've got our pumpkin puree that wants 1 cup. We're going to do 2, of course. So to do this, I'm going to end up with a little bit left over, but, I don't think that's going to be a problem. If anything else, I just pop it in a little sandwich bag and freeze it flat. Okay, make sure. Okay. And there's 1. Of course, I'm going to need that. And we're going to go in for our 2nd cup here. I'm making such a mess. It's great fun though. If you don't, like I always say, if you don't make a mess in the kitchen, you didn't have a good time. Alrighty. So, shake that off a little bit. Put that in the mixing bowl. Okay, so we can set this aside. And next we need 3/4 of a cup of vegetable oil. I'm going to go easy on my poor little addled brain. And I'm going to get out my measuring cup. 1/2, 2/3. I'm missing my 3/4 cup. Okay. Let's see, there it is. Alrighty, so we have our 3/4 cup of oil. There it is. Okay. So we're going to do that twice. There's 1 and 2. This will be a brilliant success or an abysmal failure. Time will tell. Okay, and referring back to their instructions, egg, sugar, pumpkin puree, and oil. Okay, we're going to whisk it. Let me move that out of the way. I am plugged in. Let me move the sugar before I bump it with my arm. Up we go. Now we're just mixing at this stage. We're just combining. It basically says to combine it until it's smooth. Okay. Okay, that looks pretty good. Probably need to get that off the edge though. Okay, let me give that just a little spin here. Okay, now we're gonna do our dry ingredients, and I think we're gonna grab a bowl. Okay, so we need our flour, baking soda, baking powder, pumpkin pie spice, vanilla extract, and salt. Okay, we can do that. So we need 1.5 cups, so we need 3 cups. Look at me do math. What's up with that? Okay. Let's try and do this the best I can here. Okay, so there's 1. There's 2, and then 2 halves make a whole. And there's 3. Yay! Okay, so we got our flour and 2 teaspoons of baking soda. We need both actually, baking soda and baking powder. Okay, so 1 teaspoon of baking soda. There's my teaspoon. Yep, that's my teaspoon. And that is baking soda, which this is. So it says 1 teaspoon, so we're going to put in 2. Put a little, that was a little low. Okay. And 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, so we're going to put in 1 teaspoon. I know it's painful listening to me do math out loud, but here we are. Okay, baking powder. Okay, and we need 1.5 teaspoons of the pumpkin pie spice. I actually was kind of running out of this. So what I did was I looked at the ingredients and then just took the remaining spices from my kitchen pantry here and just filled it back up basically and gave it a good mix. Okay, so we need 1.5 teaspoons. Okay, so we're going to do 1, 2.5 twice, which is 3 tablespoons. Can we do it? Yes. Okay, maybe a little bit more there. Okay. So we have that down. And who else did we miss? We've got the vanilla extract that we're going to put in. We need 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Because you got to have salt in sweet things, otherwise they don't taste like anything. 1/4. So instead of doing math on that one, I'll just doop and doop. Okay, so our salt's taken care of. And now we're down to the extract. I will add that directly to my wet over here. I don't know why it wasn't included in the wet, but that's okay. So 1/2 teaspoon. So we're just going to go boop, and that's good right there. Okay. I'm going to give that another quick mix. Whoop. Helps if you kind of bring it up there. Okay, and I am going to grab just a regular whisk here and just kind of whisk everything together. That way it's nicely incorporated. Because once it hits that wet, you will play the dickens trying to get all of your spices and things evenly dispersed throughout your batter. It's just not going to work. So now that I have that, put it all together. So I'm not going to dump it all at once. I want to give it a chance to incorporate as I go. Hopefully I did this right. It's looking pretty good. Okay, let me go ahead and add the rest. If I can get out of the bowl. There we go. Alrighty. Now, I believe I've made these with you all before, but it's been quite a while. So I thought, you know, because I'm making it for friends and for, you know, at least some for the family, I thought, you know, let's revisit this fun recipe. I just splashed and I got the egg with the pumpkin batter. So, no, I better wash that off because I'll forget. Put it back in the refrigerator and like 3 days from now, pull out the eggs and be like, oh, good heavens, what is that on the egg? I'll totally forget it's there. Okay, so now we're just going to fold in the chocolate chips. And what I'm going to start with is I had some leftovers, plus I have brand new bags. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just cut this bag open. There's a set amount. I can pretty much eyeball that. I think it calls for like 1.5 cups of the chocolate chips. Yeah, 1.5 cups. So, and these are semi-sweet, and this is about give or take 1.5 cups. Put that in there, and that in there. And I will probably add a scotch more. Never cheat on your chocolate chips. So, there we go. That should be about 1.5 cups. And all I'm going to do is just kind of combine. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay, let's take... Oh, that's a lot of batter. So, here we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this beater kind of wiped off here first. Okay, I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to go around the bowl and be sure that I don't have any loose flour at the bottom or anywhere else. And that looks pretty good. That looks really lovely. Okay, now what I've done is I have, let me set this aside here, is these are silicone muffin trays, and I've already sprayed them with some nonstick spray. I initially was going to use muffin liners, the little paper cups, but for whatever reason, I was thinking I actually had like a metal muffin tin pan, but I was like, no, we use the silicone ones now. So I'm going to go ahead and start filling these and get my let's see, my oven is preheated to 400, and I need to cook these for, let's see, bake for 15 minutes. Now, I've made this recipe before, and the 15 minutes, I have found it to be a tad questionable. I have actually found that it needed to go like 22 minutes, all in all. Now, that was many months ago, and we have since gotten our oven looked at. So I'm going to follow the instructions here. So it says 15 minutes. I'm going to do 15 minutes, but I will check it at the end of 15 minutes with a toothpick to be sure that they're actually coming out correctly. All right, so I'm just going to start spooning these in. I just use an ice cream scoop. It's the easiest way to go. It's the least messy way to go. So, and that is the one thing I forgot to grab, and that I also do not see. Okay, I have once again outsmarted myself. I have a larger scoop than this. This is more of a cookie scoop. And of course, as you know, I use this for meatballs, but this is a little too small for muffins. So we're going to improvise. I'm using a ladle. It's going to be a lot messier, but it works. So let me get my spatula situated out of the way here. And we're just going to take a ladle into these. I don't want to fill these all the way up. That's probably too much right there, but probably about 3/4 of the way. And just like that. Super cinchy. These muffins are great. They have stood the test of time in the freezer. Like, I just bake up a big batch of these and I can package them up. So it's a grab and go kind of thing. And they defrost in no time at all, which makes it wonderful too. Like, if you wanted to make these for your child's lunch, it would be ideal because you could take it directly out of the freezer, put it in their lunchbox or their backpack, whatever. And by the time lunch rolled around, it's defrosted and ready to go. So you can't really go wrong with that. I think my friends will love this. They're headed back to work too, so it's great. They can take some of these with them on their, for their lunches as well. So it's great for kids and adults. So I feel so strange doing this with a ladle, but here we are. When in Rome, adapt. What is my dog doing over there? I think she's licking the floor. I have strange pets. They're rather unusual. Yeah, I think she's... Gwen, can you not lick the floor, please? You don't know where it's been. Hello. Yep, there's our first splat. I love using the silicone trays. They're wonderful. They're easy to clean up. And they do, I have to admit, they do seem to cook better. They seem to provide a much more even cooking. And they're a breeze to work with. And you will not struggle with them sticking. Period. It's just, you will not have that problem. Okay, so let me get that wayward chocolate chip out of there. Now, I kind of started doing this on my own, and when I pulled up the recipe again, I noticed that they had made this addition. But my addition is, because it's never enough, I like to add chocolate chips on top. It may be very common. Maybe I'm the one that just sort of plucked it out of the ether in my head when I first started doing this recipe. But I do like to add the chips on top. It makes it more desserty. Makes it a little bit more special. You know, what good is a dessert if you don't feel special when you have it? And I don't count. I just, put some on top. Make it look pretty. And that is just not enough chips on that little guy. Let me put a couple more in there. And if it has any bare spots, I like to cover that up too, so that every bite, you get a little bit of chocolate chip in there. Okay, so I'm going to fill the second tray, and then these will go in the oven for 15 minutes, and then I will check them with a toothpick in the center, and I will do it in multiple places because sometimes ovens can be a little tricky in certain parts. So I will test a couple of different ones in different areas, and if I need to add a couple more minutes, I will do so. So let me get these going. Okay, the muffins have come out, and as you can see, there is a drastic difference between each of these. And as far as I can tell, I've got one side of my oven is slightly hotter because after 15 minutes, neither of these were done. So I did go back in for a total of 5 more minutes. And they're perfectly done in the center, but this side is slightly darker than this. And I don't know, I want to say it's because I was at the bottom of the batter, but all of my chocolate chips sunk. And it's fine. It's fine how it turned out. It'll still be very tasty to eat. So I will just give the ones where the chocolate chips are still on top towards the back, and then some of these. So they have some that are floating on top and some that are deep down inside. But at any rate, the muffins turned out really good. I'm very happy with them. And it was a grand total of 23 minutes total cook time at 400 degrees. And now I'm moving on to chocolate chip cookies, the good old-fashioned kind. Alrighty, we're on to our last recipe. I'm not going to have enough time this evening for the spice cake muffins that I was going to make. So we're going to do the chocolate chip cookie recipes. That will give us at least 3 recipes total. And then if I can sneak into the kitchen tomorrow, I will do the spice cake. Cupcakes, basically, is what they are. So for this one, we're going to go ahead and do our dry ingredients first. This makes about 2 dozen to 3, it says 5 dozen, but I don't envision it with this. I've done this recipe before. I printed this one off the internet, and I think that I'll get between 2 and 3 dozen. So the recipe calls for 2 1/4 cups flour. I've got my all-purpose flour here, and this is my cup measure. So we'll go ahead and start with that. So there's one. We'll get our new container out. I don't know if I can get it. There we go. Okay, so that's 2, and it wants 1/4. So there's our 2 1/4 of flour, and that's just all-purpose flour. We need a teaspoon of baking soda. And oh, there they are. I say I misplaced my spoons. Okay, teaspoon of baking soda, not the baking powder. Okay. And we need a teaspoon of salt, which I've got right here. And my dog in here coughing again, bless her heart. She's got allergies, terrible. You okay, boo-boo? Huh? Yeah, she's okay. Okay, and then we move on to, let's see, what does it say over here? Come on, paper. Okay. It says to, I can't find the right page here. Flour, baking soda, and salt. Okay, yeah, so we're going to go ahead and just mix this up again. I'm just going to use a little whisk to just combine everything. And I'll just set that aside. And then in our bowl over here, we are going to put 2 sticks of butter that are softened, and they are very soft. I need to get them in the bowl. So I will do that quickly. Try not to wear it. That's 1. And 2. And then we need the regular sugar and brown sugar. So we need 3/4 of a cup, which is this guy right here, of white sugar. There we go. We got our sugar, and then we need 3/4 of brown sugar. I had a bad moment where I couldn't find it. I had actually taken it downstairs thinking I wasn't going to be doing any baking anytime soon. So let's see here if I can get it all in there. And it doesn't say, oh yeah, it does. It's packed. So we got it packed. Plop that in there. Need a teaspoon of vanilla and a couple of eggs. So let's just go. Oop, there's our vanilla. And a couple of eggs. There we go. This is a pretty simple recipe. I think a lot of us grew up on the Nestle Toll House cookies, which this is the actual recipe. It is a classic. I've always loved those. I remember growing up, the Nestle Toll House cookies was when you made your first batch, it was like a rite of passage, really. And that's about it. We're going to cream this together till everything's happy. But yeah, growing up, it was a big deal when you made scratch Nestle Toll House chocolate chip cookies. That was a big deal in the house. And it was that kind of thing that everyone gathers together and kind of helped create as a team effort. So basically, this is it, guys. You cream this together until it's nicely combined. Then we're going to take our flour mixture and slowly add that in, just a little bit at a time. That way we don't overwhelm the mixer or get clumps and lumps. We don't want that. That looks beautiful. So let's just start adding our flour in. It's looking pretty good there. And then we'll add the rest of our flour. There. Now once this comes together, then we're going to add our chocolate chips. And it looks like I don't know, that looks pretty good already. Let me grab my spatula here. Yep, I would say that's pretty good. Maybe pop this bowl off here and we'll come on over. That looks pretty good, I would say. Yeah. So let me see if I can scrape the sides down here. Although I would say that overall, there's not a lot of scraping that needs to be done. It mixed up pretty cleanly, which makes me very happy. Trying to get your spatula in between all the little gaps is always an adventure. Now hopefully tomorrow I might be able to sneak in that last recipe. We shall see. In the meantime, it's a very fluffy, beautiful mix. Now we're going to put in our chocolate chips. So I'm going to go ahead and grab first the bag that we already opened together. And we're going to throw that in there. And then, let me go ahead and mix that in first. I'm just going to kind of fold those in. Kind of get everyone in together here. Got to use some elbow grease to get this mixed together thoroughly here. I'm thinking maybe just a few more, which means I'm going to open up another brand new bag because I can. Why not? Yeah, not quite a half a bag. I would say more like a quarter of a brand new bag. So I like to, as you can tell, put extra chips in my cookies and my muffins. But I figure if you're going to have a treat, make it worthwhile, you know? Definitely make it worthwhile. There is a time and the place for, you know, low sugar, low fat, but this is for other family members and this is for friends. And I love them enough to give them the full experience. Let's put it that way. So I'm going to grab a butter knife because I think we have it nicely mixed. We're just going to scrape off the spatula here. No chip left behind. No. Okay. Okay, so that is nicely mixed together. And all I'm going to do now is take this beautiful stuff right here and spoon a heaping teaspoon out on the cookie sheets. And on my cookie sheets, I have done this. I have found if you can invest in some Silpad mats, the silicone mats for baking, they are wonderful. They really provide, I think, a much better cooking experience, especially for cookies. You tend to not get it overdone on the bottom and have it be too raw on top. It seems to cook it a lot better. So this is what I'm using. I've got 2 cookie sheets laid out with these mats. I'm going to scoop out the cookies and get them in the oven. So I will see you momentarily and be right back. We did it, everyone. We created some beautiful, tasty treats for our friends and our family. So we have some fantastic chocolate chip pumpkin muffins over here and here. We have 4 dozen chocolate chip cookies right here. And that little beauty right there is our Mississippi mud pie. Thank you so much for coming along with me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you guys had a good time. I look forward to seeing you next time. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this, hey, like and subscribe, comment below, tell a friend. Thank you, everyone. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.